Hi everyone, welcome to Trident Talks. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Noam Schwartz, the CEO of ActiveFence. How are you, Noam?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Good, great to have you on. Thanks for taking time out of your day. So we had a little chat off air, and kind of this is the first time we've met, so a little bit of an introduction. But for everyone who is listening, it'll be great to tell us a little bit about yourself individually first before we get into ActiveFence and kind of how you came into this position. So I saw from, obviously from speaking to you and on your LinkedIn that your background was in intelligence within Israeli defense, which is interesting. And we've seen a lot of people from that world kind of go on and be budding entrepreneurs in the kind of, I guess, security or cyberspace or intelligence in general. So yeah, feel free to start with an intro. That'd be great.
Oh, awesome. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, I'm Noam Schwartz, CEO and co-founder of ActiveFence. Founded ActiveFence about 5-6 years ago. We're about 250 people worldwide, raised about $130 million to date, and operate in trust and safety. So which basically means we keep online services, online products, online platforms, from social networks, file hosting services, messaging platforms, chats within gaming. We keep them safe from abusive behavior and abusive content. But you asked about myself, but that's important because the context matters. So I'm based here in Brooklyn, originally from Israel. Moved here twice, actually, once in 2015 and most recently a few months ago. And I started ActiveFence because basically, I had no choice. Everything in my life kind of like led to it. So like history, grew up as both white hat hacker and content creator and musician. I did a lot of work like in the early days of user generated content and social media before they called it this way. And then like growing up, I served as an intelligence officer for many years, doing mostly counterterrorism. So basically learned how to find kind of like say bad behavior, like unwanted behaviors online. After that, I worked for in the content moderation space in trust and safety for a manufacturer of mobile phones called Nokia. I'm sure some of the folks that are listening here remember that name. They had an app store called Ovi, which is like Play Store or the Apple Store, which basically lets you download a lot of apps. So I did a lot of work on that thing, which introduced me to the trust and safety space. Then I went and started a user-generated content company, online company that didn't work very well, but it taught me a lot about the challenges of online platforms dealing with user-generated content issues. And then I did a company in the competitive intelligence space, like a very cool technology that eventually got acquired by another company called SimilarWeb that went public a few years ago. And that's where pretty much I got most of my hardcore training of everything else, like sales, marketing, the things that you're not born with. And after that, after being exposed to a lot of the issues in the US, from disinformation to hate speech to everything that is creating a lot of havoc and problems in society and democracies, I decided that I got to do something about that. And the last straw was the birth of my daughter. When she was born, and there was a lot of things going on around that. I thought, okay, she's going to be online very soon. I know what's going on online. Let's build the technology that will protect her. So this combination kind of like led me to the field of trust and safety, content moderation, but most importantly, keeping people safe online.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for the intro. Certainly an interesting journey. And like you say, you learned a lot over the past however many years, right? Through the school of life, not necessarily going out there and lots of it's on the job, right? What I find what I'd like to know more about is, before we kind of get into a bit about what ActiveFence does and this industry within trust and safety, I think a lot of people confuse it with other stuff, right? Or they get, because there's a lot of crossover nowadays with what's the difference between security, cyber, trust and safety. There's, you know, that you have other companies that focus on just misinformation, disinformation. So how is the rise of the trust and safety sector? We're seeing more and more companies evolve into that, right? How did it come about? Is it something that's been around for years? Is it an industry that you guys have kind of forged yourself into?
Yeah. So trust and safety is as old as the internet. So when you started having websites, you started to having servers that are controlled by people, that most of those people are awesome and interesting and weird and make the internet what it is. Like I'm a creation of the internet. Like everything I know, I learned online. And thanks to user-generated content, I was educated by a lot of users. I was also thankful my school, but users who created incredible content really made a difference for me. But a subset of them, subset of those users, let's say they have bad intentions. They're trying to do things from just like monetize innocent people and create bad experiences for them. Spam. They want to install malware on their machines and kind of like take advantage of that. This is also where cybersecurity sometimes get into the mix. Sometimes they try to groom young children and get them to send them pictures. Sometimes they try even to get people to come to places. This is how human trafficking starts. And sometimes they try to distribute content to create havoc in democracies. And sometimes they're just trying to smear someone online. And this is like the minority, really small minority. But even though the prevalence is small, the damage is massive.
Yeah.
And that was always the case online. So there's nothing new in that. Those are people. That's not, the problem is not with the internet. This is also something that sometimes people forget. It's not about technology. It's not about the internet. It's people. Some of the people are not playing fair. Some of the people are out to harm other people. The internet is just an amplification of that. So we're not trying to solve the internet problem. We're trying to solve human problem with online tools. Now, throughout the years, because there weren't a lot of people online, and I'm talking 30 years ago, it wasn't then that prominent. So the problem was handled manually. Folks were flagging content. They saw something inappropriate, or saw something harmful, or something super dangerous. They flagged that, or someone that is working within the platform that facilitated that flagged that, and that was it. They nuked it out of the server. In many places in the past, folks kind of like self-regulate. There was something called IRC, Internet Relay Chat. It used like an MIRC. It was that was the client that helped folks get there. It was basically the first version of Slack, of Discord. It was the most awesome chat ever. And they had the same concept that Reddit got for self-regulation. Every server got their own rules. They had like specific operators and folks that had to deal with the moderation. This is how they called it also back in the day, early 90s. And it worked pretty well. There were servers that were, it was a zoo. Folks did whatever they wanted. And there were servers that were super clean. It was really based on what the users and the folks that managed the community wanted. But then things became more centralized. That was a decentralized universe. We're talking about the metaverse, decentralization. That was that in the beginning. And then when more centralized communities showed up and more centralized services, let's talk about like GeoCities, again, back in the day and things like that. It was more up to the creators, to the owners of the platform, and they use very simple technology. stuff like keyword detection. They scanned content and they looked for all kinds of specific keywords, like the N-word or pattern that looks like bank accounts that are being leaked, things like that. And that was enough. But then bad actors became more sophisticated. They started hiding abusive content. They're starting obfuscating specific content, and the industry didn't really move as fast as content moved. But every time there was a jump in content online, there was a jump in trust and safety. And around 2015, 2016, there was a jump in social media, in video streaming technology, in audio streaming technology, in bandwidth, and that really increased the amount of content online. And combine that with people moving to cloud, it's easier to start companies and platforms. All of a sudden, you need a bigger boat to deal with this problem that was still handled either manually, crowdsourced, self-regulation, or using keywords. And this is where other technologies started to emerge. And around the same time, cybersecurity became a thing. So trust and safety is growing exactly in the pace of content online. And cybersecurity is growing exactly in the pace of, let's call it, cloud online. It's almost the same thing. It's not just cloud. There's like IoT. There's other topics. But if you need a very simplistic way to see that, that's kind of like how you can measure. You can compare both. Now they're very, very different. We're protecting users against other users.
Yeah.
But the people that are paying are the platforms. They want to protect their users from other users harming them. Cybersecurity are protecting the platforms against third parties that are meant to harm them, or protect the platforms from their users that may want to hack them in some way or another. So the folks that we're protecting are very, very different.
And I'd imagine like the technology you guys use, like it has to be quite innovative to keep up with this constant growth in the issues, right? And in that area. And they're like, what do you guys do at ActiveFence? That's because you guys are doing really well, right? I see your name everywhere. You guys have, a few acquisitions I've seen that you guys have made within your area, and there must be something you guys are doing with regards to technology that's different to everyone else to get ahead of the curve.
So for many years, every company, they have some contrarian approach that eventually makes them win or lose. And our contrarian approach was that focus is right for some things, but it's not necessarily right for trust and safety. The big problem of trust and safety organizations is that it's a very, let's say, ungrateful job for them. It's like if they're doing their job right, nobody noticed them. If they're screwing up, well, everybody noticed, even if it's like a tiny, tiny thing. So what we do is we actually invested a lot in building technology that stops terrorism, hate speech, child abuse, grooming, human trafficking, all the way though to spam and other policies that online platform would like to curb, to basically to work with, and harms that platforms would like to curb. And that actually gave us a very interesting edge, because while most online platforms were kind of like cornered to use point solutions, a text filtering for spam, and then they need to go to another vendor, a text filtering for child abuse, and an image filtering for nudity. And the UK is an incredible place for startups in this field, because the UK government is very advanced for Ofcom and other civil society that are putting a lot of emphasis on this thing. And there's a lot of safety tech companies operate in the UK. but a lot of them are point solutions, and they didn't succeed in actually taking not taking the market. It's more about providing the customer with the best experience they can have, and having almost a one-stop shop, like one company, one face that they can talk with and actually ask for their help. And we decided that we want to build the most important topics for the most important industries, and it proved itself. And that was our approach. That's basically the thing. It's not a secret, but that's I believe what drove most of our engagement, most of our success, is that we can help our customers in a meaningful way and not be just another vendor out of a list of 50 other vendors.
That's the beauty, right? Trying to find something that makes you different, stand out. Also fixes real problems.
Yeah, you can see it also in cybersecurity. Like, I don't know if you saw the Palo Alto released in the last analyst call, and a fascinating presentation, kind of like showing that the average CISO is buying from a few tens of different vendors, and Palo's approach is to consolidate that and provide different modules that would eventually bring most of the business of every CISO to them. And that was our strategy from the get-go. We wanted to be that company for the trust and safety teams, because we believe this is the best service and the best empowerment that we can give our customers, and eventually make the internet safer. Because if we can have everybody speaks the same technology language and build the flows in the same way, they can use whatever models they want. They can bring their own flavors, their own subtleties of policy, their own subtleties of internal culture. It's even in games. Sometimes games from the same company would have different language, different culture, and you don't want the same text moderation for harmful content in those two different games of the same studio, but the way that you implement will be the same. And the way you moderate will be the same. So if I can provide them with the tools and make sure that they are focusing on the user experience and delighting their community, all of a sudden it's a different ballgame. So that's the concept.
Well, just like while we're kind of on the subject, we spoke a little bit about technology and how you guys work it. Like, how, like, has the rise of like AI affected you guys and the future of the industry as well? Like, does that come into play?
Yeah, it comes into play in many different things. Like, I think first and foremost, we've been an AI company from the get-go. So we've developed LLMs before people knew what LLMs are. Like in many cases, and again, I guess it's some of the folks that are listening know or don't know, to be very overly simplistic. So apologize if you do know the space. There are general use models, and these are the models that you'd use for OpenAI, for example. That you can have a conversation with them. You can ask them to label data. You can do like all kinds of things with them, as long as it's a very popular space. But if you need something more specific, you need to ask a question or label content on something that is the topic is very specific. So it's like, how is this terrorist content? Is this hate speech in Hindi that is relevant for a specific state within India? Is this child grooming using slang that only folks in specific areas in Central America are using? This is not a general use AI. So what we did for the years, we trained models based on content that is that harmful content, so we can be more, let's say, more accurate and faster, and provide like a better experience and a better SLA for our customers. Now that technology is better, we can train faster, we can deploy faster. So we're enjoying that lift in a very meaningful way. It's also easier to create new models, like for us as well. Things that took us 6 months now can take a few days. Now the real moat in AI today for specialized models is the training data. It's not like a, let's say, the zero shot experience. That's one thing. The second thing is how much more content we're going to see. So right now, most enterprises didn't really implement, let's say, generative AI. They're still very concerned from the harms that it can create, harms that users can create using prompt hacking, harms that are going to happen to their brand because users are going to manipulate their models. So there's a lot of discussion about the potential, but it didn't really hurt let's say in the massive scalable way that we're predicting. We do see a lot of AI generated child sexual abuse materials, which is like a massive problem that is hitting everybody, and we're seeing a lot of disinformation that was created by Gen AI, and a lot of spam and a lot of phishing. It's not as we thought. It's not double the size of everything, but it's still like very meaningful. So all of a sudden, there's more content that we need to monitor. There's more content that needs to be moderated, because right now it's easier for bad actors to become bad actors. The barrier of entry is lower. The quality of content they create is obviously higher, and all of a sudden, people can create the content, but it's still very hard for them to get to a meaningful reach. While they were able to create a shortcut for the creation, the distribution is still very difficult. I hope it will stay this way. Those are the two main things. So our market grew very like within a night almost, and it's easier for us to serve our customers in the right way. Maybe there's like a third thing, that there's a lot of humans in the loop usually for tech platforms. The moderators, the frontliners of the internet, the people that sometimes need to be exposed to that content over and over again, they are exposed to a lot of bad content all the time. The AI revolution is going to make it easier for them. So they don't need to see as much content. They can be more efficient in spending less time and eventually get paid more. So this is also a very great news for these folks.
Thanks for that. So I'd love to know, kind of in a nutshell, like we've seen the acquisitions this year, well, from you guys acquiring some kind of, I guess, competitors in a sense, but also maybe stuff that's going to help your product stronger or add another string to your bow, so we say. What's next for you guys? Now, I know you can't give away strategic plans, right? But how do you see the industry? It's going to grow, right? The internet's crazier than ever. Online trust and safety, or like you said many times, right? There's so many bad actors out there, and they're getting more and more intelligent. How do you see that? Do you see this industry just continuing to grow and grow and grow, and more solutions coming to market, or it's really difficult to put a timestamp on it, right? It's
yeah, I see. I understand what you're saying. It's there's two things. From a strategic point of view, we don't have an official strategy of acquiring companies and integrating them and doing that. This is a very, let's say, when we're finding a great fit, we will engage, because we can do that. We have the skills. We know how to integrate. This is the most important part. Like, buying is easy. The integration is difficult.
Yeah.
So we have like a wonderful team that did that many times. I did it personally in other companies. My companies were acquired. I acquired companies. So this thing is not that difficult for us. But also, like, one must remember that most acquisitions are a complete failure.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, like, I hope that we would not engage into that statistics personally, but we're very aware of that. So this is a very risky strategy. This is why it's not our strategy. Our strategy is to succeed organically using technology, service, and the market dynamics. This is like an acquisition is nice to have. That can be a wonderful lift, but it's not something that you're counting on. So with that said, I believe the industry will encounter more consolidation, as we go forward. A lot of companies in the space are either not financed properly or not built properly. Finance properly is easy. They just don't have enough money to exist. Built properly is that they just don't have a reason to exist. They have a very, very specific solution for a very, very small problem. And some companies that will decide to either build this solution internally or buy it from another larger vendor will eventually drive this company out of business, or they will stay in a steady state of a small company, which is incredible. But this is not really, let's say, a meaningful part of the industry. That's about that. Like right now, nobody knows what's going to happen. We're in the middle of a very difficult financial crisis within the tech industry. It still didn't come to the real street, but the tech industry is suffering a lot, and this is obviously affecting our industry. We saw that from refs in large companies to small companies getting shut down or consolidated or other things. In terms of the technology, we're seeing large companies maturing right now. There's always the dilemma of build versus buy. For a lot of different services, for a lot of different technologies. It happened for cyber, it happened for DevOps, it happened for fintech, it happened for connectivity, it happened for everything. And trust and safety is the same. And companies tended to build things. Now they understand that the costs are insane. So companies with a lot of legacy that build a lot of technology starts to take a lot of their work outside to vendors, and companies that didn't really invest yet, like younger companies, are not even thinking about that. And folks that are thinking about that are kind of like working from inertia, and eventually they'll get the note from the market that like spending money on things that you can buy doesn't really make sense in today's world. Like there was always this culture of not build here for a lot of things, and you could afford that because it's like, let's bring 50 engineers to work on a non-core problem because investors will pay a lot.
Yeah.
Now that investors are not willing to pay a lot, so you don't want to do that anymore. So I believe there will be more and more companies. I'm seeing incredible people coming into this space. In generally speaking, I love my competition, because it makes us better. Sometimes it makes us look better also, so this is like great. But also but jokes aside, the real gain here is protecting people. And the more players in this market that help protect people, like honestly, I obviously want to succeed and win and bring value to the world and my shareholders. But if my daughter is playing or my son is playing a game and there's good people, there's good technology that is there protecting them, like it's cool if it's my technology, but if it's like my competitors' technology that I know they're good people, that's fine as well.
Yeah, that's something I've really learned from speaking to you today. One, I can see how passionate you are about what you do and what your product is doing, right? And I think that's probably the reason why you guys have been so successful, because if you genuinely do care, then you'll give everything to it, right? And you're solving a real problem. And I also know a few people that work within your business, and they're like-minded, right? So from the outside in, it's like everyone that works at ActiveFence gives a shit about what the purpose is, right? Which is like the sign of a real company that's going to have a real impact and make change. And I do think you're right. There's lots of, I've seen it before. Just touching what you said a few points ago. There's loads of companies that go out there. They don't really have a purpose. They're just building tech for the sake of it, and then they either get bought and maybe they do okay, and everyone makes a few quid, or they just kind of just exist, right? And I think it's evident from the way you speak about the business, but also what you guys do. Like you haven't here and banged the drum and gone, we're amazing, everyone should use ActiveFence. It's not that. It's this is what we do and this is why we do it. So I think that's a kind of a good place to finish. I have one last question that I'd like to ask in terms of kind of finish on a light note, really. So I'm going back. You've come from obviously your intelligence days. What do you think you would have done if you didn't move into technology? Was it always the plan to get into tech, or what would you be doing?
I thought I'm going to be a lawyer.
Really?
Nice. It's but that was very misguided. What can I tell you? It's actually it's a funny story. I have our lawyer. His name is Itai Frischman, and he's a superstar. And originally, he interviewed me like almost 2 decades ago. I wanted to do an internship with him, and for some reason I got in, and then like a few months before I was about to start working for him, I told him, you know what, I'm not doing that. I'm starting a company, but I don't know any lawyers. Would you be my lawyer? And again, like it was such a joke, but he said yes, and you know, we live happily ever after.
Still work together now? You still your lawyer now, yeah?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Nice. Cool story. Look, I appreciate your time today. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on the company and how you guys progress, and I really appreciate you joining me. So thanks very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.